Hello and welcome to another edition of Know Your Schools on WISD TV. My name is Dale Caffey. My very special guest today is Grace Benson. She is the new Director of English Language Learners at the Waco Independent School District. Grace, welcome to Waco.
Thank you.
We're so very happy to have you here, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the ELL department is all about. But first, let's get to know you better. Tell us a little bit about your background dating back to when you weren't a U.S. citizen.
Yes. I'm originally from Nicaragua. Our family came to the United States during the war in Nicaragua in the late 1970s. When I arrived in the United States, I was a newcomer, like many of our students, and we lived in Miami Beach, Florida. And then after that, we moved to another area in Miami.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the fact that you were a newcomer. That basically means that you came here not knowing very much, if any, English.
I came here, as many of our newcomers do. I did not speak English. I had to learn all of the norms that our students learn. I came from a completely different country, and so I can relate very well to what many of our newcomers go through when they come to the United States.
Very good. Let's talk about your stay in Miami. And so you went through Miami Beach high schools or schools?
I went through schools in Miami. I graduated from Miami Sunset Senior High School, and I attended elementary school in Miami Beach.
Very good. And from there, you obviously then had a goal to get more education. Yes. So talk about that.
I have a bachelor's degree in learning exceptionalities, and I also have a master's degree in reading, and I have an endorsement in ESOL, and I also have a master's degree in learning disabilities.
Wow.
And that was my graduate work in Miami. I also have a specialist degree in educational administration as well from the University of South Dakota.
Wow, a lot of education there. Just talk about your background as you entered the education profession.
Okay.
Did you start teaching in Miami or thereabouts?
Yes, I sure did. I taught in a very large high school in Miami. The population, it was a large population of students that were under free and reduced lunch. High poverty population. It was a college board school. The school's name is Miami Southridge Senior High, home of the Knights. I always still have a lot of heart there for that wonderful school. And we worked very hard to ensure that our students were prepared to go to college, regardless of their socioeconomic status.
Having come here, not knowing English, how did you learn it so well? Or did you have problems, or how were you able to master the language as you did in high school and up to today?
One of the things that I feel really helped me as a newcomer was that in retrospect and looking at what many of my teachers did, they followed what the research says. At that time, ESL and services for ELLs were very different in the late 70s. But one thing that I feel that my school did right as a child when I was in elementary school is that for newcomers, when newcomers come into our country, they need to be immersed in the English language. There is a place and time for interpreting, but it's essential to immerse the children and also our adolescents. We have many newcomers that come to us as in the middle school and high school levels, and to immerse them in the English language, to expose them to the culture and the norms. One of the places that I worked in was in Nebraska, and we had newcomers that would come from East Africa, very different culture, and we had a newcomer center, and we would immerse the students in the English language, and as well as the community and what resources were there for the students. It was pretty much a one-stop center where families could also come and get support and know the resources in the community. So I feel that for me, what really helped me was that I was immersed into the language, and my classroom was very, it was literacy rich. And I'll never forget one of the books that my teacher gave to me, my very first teacher gave to me after my first year of being in the United States, was The Island of the Blue Dolphins, because she always said it reminded her of me. At the time that I came to the United States, in the school that I attended in Miami Beach, I was one of the only students that spoke Spanish. And so she would read that story out loud to the class, and through listening to her and through the read alouds and really getting involved with the story, I started to pick up on the syntax and the semantics, because it's very different in other languages, the way that the syntax and semantics and the phonemic code is even very different. So that really helped me, that emotional aspect of it helped me to attain the language as well.
We are going to talk in a moment about your plans for a newcomer program, if you will, at Waco ISD. But before we do that, let's delve a little further, because you mentioned Nebraska. So you obviously made a move somewhere from Miami and teaching in Nebraska. So talk a little bit about how you've moved around the United States.
Sure. After I taught in Miami for approximately 10 years. I taught reading, I taught algebra and geometry, and I taught students in special education. And then my husband accepted a position, a professorship at the University of South Dakota, and so we moved to South Dakota. When I was in South Dakota, I obtained a position at an elementary school, and it was very different, and because I had been at the high school level, and it was a wonderful experience, and it helped me to have a new respect and understanding of what elementary teachers do for our students. When you work in a high school, that's the culture, that's the content. Elementary school teachers have to be well versed in all content areas. They're incredible teachers. They take children who come to them, and I'll give you an example. The school where I was at was a school that was a minority school, and so the students, most of them were second language learners. They were ELLs, and were coming to us from high poverty, from low socioeconomic levels, and so we really strived as a school, as a district, to ensure that the students had all of the skills that they needed to succeed globally, not just within Nebraska, but globally. And so, in looking at my position there, I worked in the autism program that we had at the school, and it was a multi-grade program. I worked with very young students all the way up to 5th grade. Students, their ability levels range from students that were very high functioning or included in classrooms to students that were not able to communicate via speech. So they used alternate communication modes. And so after being there for a couple of years, I became principal. And that's
and this is in South Dakota or Nebraska?
In Nebraska.
Okay. So did you have a teaching job also in South Dakota?
Nope.
Okay, so you moved to South Dakota, but of course
but
it's
I was
close.
working, we were in a tri-state area,
right.
So it's
very common to
live
in one state and work in the other.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And so I became school principal, and it was a wonderful experience. The district I was at was a PLC district, just like we are. Okay. Very strong commitment to really leveraging talent and creating knowledge and capacity within the teams within the school. And so we implemented an intervention block at the end of every day, where everybody in the school was vested in children. Our belief was these are all our children. They're not the 3rd grade teacher's children. They are all our children. And so we made wonderful strides in really ensuring that the children not only were acquiring the second language, but also meeting the standards set by the state.
And there in that Nebraska school, what was the native language of those speakers?
Spanish.
Was it Spanish?
It was Spanish. We had students that came from countries such as, the majority of our students came from Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Vietnam, and East Africa. So we had several languages that our ESL teachers were working with.
Okay. Then you made a move now back down south. And so talk about why you chose to come to Waco.
Sure, and I did move one more time.
Oh, okay.
I did. While I was school principal, a great opportunity came up, and it was a hard decision, but it was an opportunity to help more children, and so I became the Title I Director and Special Education Director and Homeless Liaison in Vermillion, South Dakota. Okay. And so Vermillion, South Dakota is a college town, similar to Waco. The university is a big part of the town, and that was a wonderful experience because then I was able to help more children at a district level. And then after that, my husband accepted a position at Baylor. And then we made our move to Waco, which I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, it sounds with your vast background of experiences that you're the perfect fit here in Waco ISD, I must say, because working with the poverty, students from poverty, we have that here in Waco ISD. A large number come to us not knowing a lot of English, if any. And so did you feel like when this opened up and you interviewed for the job that this had your name on it?
Yes, it did. You know, in looking at Waco ISD, something really drew me to Waco ISD, and I just felt like I really wanted to help the children and families here. And I felt with my experience, the diverse experience that I bring in different areas, that I could really help bring a lot of support to the families and the children that are learning English as a second language.
Wow. And the fact that you were once a non-English speaker yourself, that's amazing. Talk about your plans for the ELL department here, English Language Learners Department at Waco ISD.
One of the things that I really want to do as, being new to the department, being the new director, is that I really want to leverage the talent and knowledge base in the teachers in the district when it comes to providing instruction for students who are ELLs. What the research is showing us now is it used to be that sheltered instruction was one of the key components of instruction for ELLs, but what the new research is showing us is that's only a small part of it. ELLs also have to be taught reading. They have to be really reading in the content areas, how to understand the different content in science and social studies, and there has to be a deliberate and direct instruction in vocabulary that's embedded. And so that's an area where I really want our department to grow. I feel that as in all specialized departments, we always do a great job, regardless of what specialized department you're in really increasing the knowledge base for our own staff, the specialists. However, our students are included in all of the core classes. They're included in content area courses. And so one of our content specialists, this year we have something new, and one of our content specialists will be working directly with content area teachers at the secondary level to provide them with support and to provide them with strategies and interventions for working with students who are ELLs in their classroom. We really want to increase that capacity of knowledge. We also want to address the needs of our newcomers. That's a very important piece for me because I was a newcomer, and so I've purchased a curriculum for our newcomers, and we've dedicated 2 staff members that are going to be working with newcomers, and they will be working with the support of our content specialists at the elementary and the secondary level. We found that the largest population of newcomers that we have is in South Waco. And so we really, really want to provide support to the teachers and to our students as well. Many of our newcomers are older. And the older you are as a newcomer, the more difficult it is. And so just combining a lot of what the research says is good for all kids, but then at the same time, what really works for students that are learning English as a second language as well.
some school districts have what is called a newcomer center. Obviously, those are very expensive to operate. So how is your newcomer program going to look? Will it be these content specialists going to South Waco Elementary, Bells Hill Elementary, or wherever you send them, and doing pull-out type programs, or what does our newcomer process going to look like?
Sure, absolutely. We have looked at different models. In the district where I worked in Nebraska, we had a newcomer center, and I was part of a committee that reviewed and evaluated the effectiveness of our ESL programs. And one of the things we found in working, in doing the review, the most powerful thing that I found as a reviewer was the voice of the students. And when we asked the students, what do you feel, that you would want us to do that would help you? They said, when I got to middle school, I really wished I knew. I wish that I had a stronger grasp of the academic language. And so in Waco at this time, we do not have a newcomer center. But we will have newcomer support, and we're going to do it within the school setting. And what we're going to, part of that support will be really embedding that academic language. We're using resources from Lead Forward, which is a powerful, powerful tool, and looking at the embedded academic and content language for the various content areas and grade levels. Our content specialists will be providing teachers with that support. And then our dedicated staff for newcomers will be doing pull-out support, and they will be using the Rigor Curriculum. The Rigor Curriculum is developed by Margarita Calderon, and she is, her research centers around newcomers and supporting newcomers. She's developed, her program is named Rigor, but it is a rigorous program that meets the needs of our newcomers, and so it's literacy-based. So it brings in that important piece that the research is saying we need to include, is that direct instruction of reading. And so it's literacy-based, it's content-based, many of the books are nonfiction, which is important. We need our students to read informational text. What the research has shown is that with informational text, the comprehension probes are almost double what they are with fiction. So we want our students exposed to informational text. And so our dedicated staff will be traveling to the different schools and doing pull-out services for students. Our students will still be included in regular guided reading instruction, because as with any program, where it's under Title or Title I, we are Title III, the students still receive the core instruction that's essential, and then whatever we do, we don't supplant. And so we add to it. Whatever a student gets, we add to it, and we do it in a different way with specialized instruction. And so they will be pulling out the students and providing instruction, and then we have an intervention that's a Tier 2 intervention, and that's the leveled literacy intervention that I've just purchased for the department. And that's from Fountas and Pennell, and it's an intervention that allows students to work on the major components of reading, the major skills that are recommended by the NPR, the National Reading Panel. And so students that are struggling with reading will also receive pull-out support with that intervention as well.
It sounds like you have a lot of plans, and you've already started those plans. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you want to communicate today?
You know, one of the things that I want to mention is that in instructing students who are ELLs, many times we say, you know, what's good what's great for ELLs is good for all kids. And I will tell you, the practices for ELLs are sound practices, and they are great for all kids. One of the things that our department will be offering this year will be toolkits. And in these toolkits, we will be having monthly toolkits where teachers will be able to sign up to learn more about literacy and how to address literacy in students that are struggling with literacy in the classroom. We are also going to have a district PLC for all ELL, for all teachers that work with ELL students, all of our ESL and bilingual teachers as well. So that's something we're very excited about, bringing that PLC piece at a district level for our department.
Very good. Obviously, we have a lot of Spanish-speaking families at home. So as we close here, I'm going to invite you to say a few words to them.
Thank you. Es un placer poder estar acá en Waco para servir a los estudiantes y servir a las familias de Waco. Los invito a visitar a nuestra oficina, al departamento, y me siento muy afortunada poder estar aquí con ustedes. Estamos aquí para servirlos y para servir a sus niños.
Very good. Grace Benson, welcome to Waco. We're so pleased to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It is a pleasure and a blessing to be here.
Great. Once again, this is Grace Benson. She's the new Director of English Language Learners at the Waco Independent School District. My name is Dale Caffey. Thank you so much for joining us for Know Your Schools.